review this? Questions on that? Move to approve the September financials.
Second.
Discussion on that? Anyone? Colin?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Don?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we've got, you know what, we're gonna jump down to, number 6. Corey, the update on the Blue Flint project?
Come on up, gang.
Thank you, my good man.
You're welcome.
As a way of introduction, for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Corey Chern with Advanced Engineering out of Bismarck. I've been working on rural water projects for the last 20-plus years and have spent the last 5 or 6 working with Lynn on various water projects. And earlier this year, Lynn was approached by representatives from Blue Flint ethanol plant looking for a possible water supply for that facility. Right now, they get their water from Great River Energy, the Coal Creek plant, and with the possibility of that being shuttered, Blue Flint has gone about looking for a water supply replacement for their facility. And so they asked Lynn if McLean Sheridan would be willing to work on a project with them, and he said of course they would. And we had some preliminary discussions with the city about whether the city would be able and willing to participate in a project to do that. And what they would be looking for is about 500 gallons a minute on average flow all day, every day, which would be about 240 million gallons of water that they would purchase from the city. And right now, I think the city is producing about 50 million. So a couple of things that we would look at in doing that. One would be to expand the water plant to basically make sure that the firm capacity to make that volume is there, build a pipeline from Washburn to Blue Flint to deliver it, build a pump station, reservoir for some storage and that type of thing. So we've got some capital costs that we would do. The message that has been relayed to Blue Flint Ethanol and Midwest Ag Energy, who owns and operates that facility, is that neither the city nor McLean Sheridan would have any interest in financing any part of that. So whatever capital improvements would be needed to do that would be on Blue Flint's on their nickel. So there'd be no debt taken by the city or McLean Sheridan to finance any of that. So all those capital improvements that would be looked at would be covered. The second part of that was sitting down and looking at what would be the cost of water to provide that service to Blue Flint. Right now, you guys are selling water to McLean Sheridan, I think it's for $475 a thousand, and we wanted to look at what kind of impact going from a 50 million gallon a plant, or 50 million gallon a year plant to a 290 million gallon a year plant would have on your overall water rates. There's a lot of fixed costs that go into the operating that facility, and if those costs stay fixed, but the denominator of the volume gets bigger, the cost on that should logically go down. So in the handout, and I won't go through all of this in great detail, but I will walk you through that first table quite a bit to show you what we're showing on the city's side of it. So we started with your 2021 budget and looked at that for what the city was assuming your budget was going to be for 2021, and your overall expense, including some depreciation, was $515,000 budget to operate your water supply and treatment system. Out of that, 515,000, if we look at those individual line items, 434,000 of that is fixed. Basically, those costs really don't change, based on the volume of water that you produce. And then below that, your volumetric cost, is about $80,000, and that's buying your chemical and electricity, those types of things that are based on the volume of water that you produce. So taking those numbers and dividing by the volume anticipated that you would produce, 51 million gallons and change, we come up with fixed costs of $848 a thousand and volumetric cost of $1.57, or a total cost right now of about $10 a thousand to make water for the city. Just looking at it on a per 1,000 gallon basis, I know that's not how your rate structure is set up, but that just allows us to do somewhat of a side-by-side comparison. So then we looked at what line items in your budget would need to be changed in order to accommodate or account for the additional water that would be produced. And those are a little hard to see, but they're highlighted in blue. The wages and salaries, the group insurance costs, the electricity for water costs, and then the chemical costs were all adjusted and prorated up to account for that increase in production, and then also assuming that your facility would go to basically a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. So we did add $60,000 in there for an additional full-time operator, and allocated that entire cost to the water plant. The electrical costs, we prorated that, going from a $19,500 a year cost to $110,000, and then your chemical costs also would go from $60,000 to an estimated just under $340,000. So having those changes reflected in your 2021 budget, your overall budget would go from $515,000 to $953,000 in total. The fixed costs would go from $434,000 to $502,000, and the volumetric costs would go from $80,000 to just over $450,000. Again, applying that same math, now if we take those numbers and we divide by 290 million gallons, we come up with a fixed cost per thousand down to $1.73 and a volumetric cost of $1.55, for a total cost of about $328. And again, that's just that number doesn't mean a whole lot right now. It's just basically taking everything into the costs and the revenue columns and doing some calculations on that in terms of what your cost structure would look like. So just one thing I do want to point out in that is that, you know, the volume of water is basically going to increase by a factor of 6. The costs are not going to quite double, and really the benefit then is that your cost structure, you know, is going to drop, and that would, you know, that is a benefit that could be passed on to the citizens of Washburn as well, as an option. So just a little bit of background in the how we looked at your budget and how it would be adjusted based on Blue Flint taking a bunch of water from Washburn. The next page gets a little bit more involved into in the weeds in terms of doing some analysis on the supply and capacity cost allocations, and we broke that out based on capacity and commodity components. So in the upper portion of that bottom table, we're looking at customer capacity and commodity costs and trying to allocate those out to Blue Flint ethanol equitably. So the customer cost, that's based on taking your cost to send out bills and those types of things to all your customers and assigning a cost to Blue Flint. That's determined basically like we've got 1 meter to service Blue Flint divided by your overall meters, and it looks like your meter billing costs you about $6,500 a year. So we're allocating that $6,500 a year, a portion of that to Blue Flint. One out of several hundred meters, that comes out to a cost of about $10 a year. It's not a significant number. The next part of it is allocating your supply and treatment capacity fixed costs. So you've got a 1,200 gallon a minute facility. Blue Flint would be looking for 500 of that, so they'd have about 42% of the capacity. So we're taking that number. There's also a allocation based on capacity share part of it. So in the second column, we've got out of year budget on the previous page, out of that $948,000, $364,907 of that would be allocated to those fixed capacity costs. So we're going to multiply that by 41.9%, and also by 55.6%, which is another allocation of the fixed costs. So the $364,000 gets multiplied by 0.556 and 0.491, and that's the allocation cost of those fixed costs that we're assigning to Blue Flint Ethanol. So that next column over, we've got $84,894. The third column, or the third row in the last column, is we're looking to allocate the commodity cost, and the overall commodity cost on that, we're looking at $428,876 in variable costs, and then we're going to take 82.3% of that and add that to, no, I'm confused again. Why do I always get so confused on that?
It's confusing, Charlie.
It is. Bear with me, I'll figure it out. Okay, I've got it. No, I don't. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so now so we've got, if you look in that last column, we've got 486,000, and that's a product of taking that 428,876 times that 82.3%, and then if we go back up a row, we take the 364,907 and we multiply that again by the 0.556 and then the 0.823. And that's how we come up with the 486 in that last column. So the total cost allocation for Blue Flint out of that budget is the 486 plus the 884,894 plus the 10. Now if we go down to the bottom, towards the bottom of the that table, we're going to take each of those numbers and divide by the volume that McLean Sheridan is going to buy from Washburn. And I mentioned earlier that Blue Flint was looking for about 215 million gallons of water. We're going to assume we're going to lose up to 10% of that water between here and delivering that, which would mean that McLean Sheridan would buy 239 million gallons of water from you guys. That's what their volumetric take would be. So we take each of those dollar amounts, we divide by that 239 million gallon buyout, and basically the cost for the billing is going to be a penny per 1,000 gallons. The cost for the capacity cost is going to be 35 cents per 1,000, and then the variable commodity cost is going to be 204. So we've got three numbers that we're going to add up, and if we jump to the next page, there's a summary table in there. So we've got the 204 plus the 36, which was the 35 plus the penny. Adding that up, we've got $2.40 in basically supply and treatment costs. That's just to produce the water and get it out. And using using the capacity in the water plant. On top of that, one of the things that we're recommending is, even though Blue Flint Ethanol will pay the capital costs for any improvements that need to happen for the water supply or the treatment facility, we're also recommending that whatever the total value of those improvements are, that be depreciated out over a period of time, and that depreciation cost also be charged to Blue Flint Ethanol. And the reasoning behind that is you'll have all this brand new stuff, but over time there's going to be maintenance costs associated with that. So we want to charge them for that depreciation cost for every 1,000 gallons, so you guys are generating the revenue you need to put into reserve accounts for any chemical feed pumps that go out, or whatever might fail, the membranes need replacing, whatever it is that we're charging as we go along, and then setting aside that money. So when those repairs need to be made, you guys don't have to go hunt down Lynn or anybody from Blue Flint to write a check. You've got that money set aside.
So, this is all fine and dandy, but if you have a line problem, who assumes the cost of that then?
So the line problem will be McLean Sheridan's problem. So they will own and operate the line, they will take care of all the maintenance on that, and similarly on that pipeline, he's gonna charge them depreciation for that as well, to make sure that he's got some reserves in his back pocket too, to make sure that he's not then having to subsidize any of that service through his existing customers.
That sounds great.
Now, when you figured this out, did you figure, just in case the numbers are a hair off, or you're pretty set in your way?
Great question. So that segues into that last column, or that last table that you see. And basically, if this is all based on, the numbers that I just walked you through was them buying 215 million gallons. The risk is what happens if they don't get to that point. Now all our calculations are wrong because we had the wrong number in the denominator. And what we've prepared is a summary of if they're for whatever reason not buying all that water, their rate actually goes up to account for the higher proportion or higher cost on a per 1,000 gallon basis of those fixed costs that we would have.
So if they don't buy the total amount, would Lynn pick up more volume then for selling or not?
Well, if they don't use what they say they're gonna use, then the cost would go up. And some of these things would have to be fine-tuned up to the day that they would start buying water.
I mean, would you buy more water if they don't take all of it?
No,
You wouldn't?
we would only buy what they use.
Okay.
They would have their own pipeline, correct?
Yeah, it'd be a dedicated pipeline up to.
Okay. Okay.
Now, is McLean Sheridan, I know they're expanding in the area.
Yep.
So we'll still have enough capacity to help that out if you guys decide to buy more water from us too, right? We're
Yep.
not
Yeah, Corey
limiting
can answer,
ourselves,
Corey
right?
can answer that on your capacity.
So right now you've got a 1,200 gallon a minute facility, and what we would look to do is take that to a 1,600 gallon a minute facility. And you have the capability to treat that 1,200 gallon, but if you're using all that capacity, you don't have any redundancy. So we'd like to add another pre-treatment train, another membrane skid, so that way, you've got the additional capacity, plus we've got redundancy in all of our systems. Again, if we're gonna take this on, this is gonna be 24/7 operation. The reliability of this is gonna have to be pretty robust.
Okay, that's all and good, putting another train in, but what about the intake? Now, if the intake can't handle below a certain amount because the core drops the river, what happens to the intake then?
Yep. Well, hopefully the new intake would handle that, and that would be part of what we would push forward as part of this, is getting that intake project completed and allocate a portion of that cost share to Blue Flint as well. So they're gonna participate in the intake, and, there would be a prorating of the intake, because that would be a benefit to everybody. The new improvements to increase the capacity at the water plant, we'd allocate 100% of those costs to Blue Flint.
That's what I was asking, if Blue Flint was gonna pick up the cost of the new intake, because the intake wouldn't be able to handle all
Right.
this capacity.
Right.
Their portion of the capital cost would be incurred by Blue Flint.
Okay.
And that would be more the pumps. Right now, we have 2 pumps, right, pumping out of the river. We'd have to go to probably 3 or 4, so we have a good backup, right?
Yep,
And that's all figured in as you did this, right?
right, yep.
Okay.
What if Blue Flint goes down?
So if Blue Flint goes down, and that was the same question that somebody else asked, you know, the way we're setting this up and looking at the risks of the increase in your budget, there's 2 line items in here that the city would have some possible exposure on. That would be hiring, you know, new personnel to take that on, you know, both the wages and the insurance. So in your budget, that's the only thing that would be affected, and unfortunately, the remedy to that would be downsizing. But, you know, that's a legitimate concern. Firing somebody's never a fun thing to do. But there is a lot of benefit here to the city in terms of, you know, the impacts that it would have on your rate structure.
Okay, now if Blue Flint would decide to upgrade and make it bigger, so how do we accommodate that extra water they would need? Would we have the capability of doing extra water for them?
That would all depend on how much more they asked for. And we've asked them that question to, what do you need now? What are you thinking in the future? Because a lot of things go into right sizing. Everything you do here, you know, water plants they're a little easier to phase in expansions as you need it. I would really, really not want to put a pipeline in the ground and then in 5 years realize that, you know, they want, you know, something that needs a bigger pipeline, so then we've got to run a second pipeline. But in that event, whatever we would need to do capital-wise, it'd all be, again, on their nickel to cover that.
How big of a diameter pipe are you talking about?
We have sized a 12-inch line in right now for that 500 gallon a minute cost. And you might be able to go a little bit lower, but from their perspective, the smaller we make the pipe, the harder we have to push the water, the more electricity it takes, so then their O&M costs go up. So they're gonna have to decide, you know, what the right point for them is in terms of what do they want for an O&M cost versus an upfront
And the
capital.
return line is how big then?
The return line, that would be 6-inch,
To accommodate,
50 gallons a minute of possible brine water.
okay.
But we have, you know, we've had a conversation with them, you know, when we visited with Larry and Colin and then even Lynn, whether or not that was something the city was interested in, whether that was, you know, something that I think needs a lot more study in terms of how much volume, what does that volume look like, what does that do to your lagoons, what does that do to your discharge permits, those types of questions for you guys as a city. And then from Lynn's perspective, if he's gonna operate that line from Blue Flint to Washburn, it's one thing to own and operate and maintain water lines, potable water lines. If you have a leak, you know, landowners get upset because there's a mess. But if you have a brine leak, that's a whole different level of liability that,
So in other words, you can't put this water back into the river if you were filtering it
I think you can.
without going to the lagoon.
No, I think they could do a direct discharge. We're looking at that option for them right now, because there are similar facilities up and down the river that are doing that right now.
Okay.
So I think that would be the most logical way to do it. But we'll see how much they push back, and I guess at that point in time, we are also doing a similar cost of service on the wastewater side too. And if that's something that they decide that they want to pursue, then we'll bring that cost of service, show you what kind of revenue could be generated from that too. But at the end of the day, hopefully both of these would be, you know, revenue generators for the city.
Now, if they go with this, would they put the money for the capital improvements in a bond so that we know that the money is there? That they're saying they'll pay for it, and as we're doing it, if something happens, if it's in a bond or if they have it in an account, then we don't have to worry about it. Yeah, are they willing to do that?
That's what we're gonna require them to do.
Okay.
Is be upfront, however they wanna finance it, it'll be up to them, but they'll have to upfront whatever the costs are, the capital costs would be totally funded.
Yeah, so it would be
And
in
that
an
includes,
account.
yeah, it
So, okay.
includes whatever intake costs and treatment plant upgrades, that would include the whole thing.
Like we mentioned earlier, there's no appetite whatsoever to take any risk, financial risk,
No.
on here. You know, the dollar amounts that we're looking at, if Blue Flint went away and they were bonding $4 or $5 million in improvements, you know, you'd be looking at $150 to $200 a month minimums for those rural customers, and I'm guessing some necks would get stretched if.
Blue Flint is a huge thing for the farmers out here that raise corn. It is really huge. And let's say if the people that own Blue Flint would say, well, we're just gonna shut it down, we wouldn't want it. I'm almost positive somebody else would wanna come in and start it up, because corn is a good commodity to have. And we have a lot of irrigated corn in the area, and so it's, somebody's gonna run it for a long time.
Then there's also, I mean, this isn't their only option either, right? I mean, they still might get water from, if somebody buys the plant. I mean, this is kind of like speculation, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if the plant doesn't go away, that's always a possibility that they would stay to that. They've told us that one way or the other, they were gonna look to separate themselves. How they're integrated with the plant right now works with Great River Energy owning that plant and also being, having a stake in Blue Flint Ethanol. But if, once they lose that, you know, that partnership with Great River Energy no longer owning that facility, it may not be as advantageous for them.
I think GRE owns about 75% of the Blue Flint out here. So once they're gone, they wanna separate, you know, from
Okay.
the power plant, even if somebody else is operating it.
I got a question or something to add. So Corey, right now, I think you're pretty well aware that city's got, State Water Commission funding, to the tune of $2.3 million for the intake. They also have a FEMA grant, for about $1 million for the intake. You know, that funding is not gonna be there forever if the city doesn't use that funding. So my question is, as far as, Blue Flint's, going on their trajectory, what other options we're looking at is what should the city expect next? Where are we gonna go from here? You know, is it viable that some construction could happen next year? What is Blue Flint thinking at this point?
So Blue Flint's overall schedule to us is they would like service July 1st, 2022, which, you know, we're 21 months away from that. That's a pretty aggressive schedule for everything that's gotta happen, between all the parties involved. First and foremost is putting pen to paper to get an agreement in place. The next step, if, you guys as a council, and I don't know if you guys need to vote on it or just provide us some consensus that, yeah, we're interested in proceeding, down this path and looking at this. The next step to me would be to write a 3-party memorandum of understanding in terms of how capital costs will be allocated, and then how the operating costs, basically the cost of water, would be evaluated. And so everybody knows how that would be established, and then we'd use that as the basis to write a water supply agreement. The agreement would be between the city and McLean-Sheridan, and then McLean-Sheridan then would have a mirrored agreement on that. So to me, all of this they need to make a decision within the next couple of months that, yes, this is what they want to do, and we need to be well down this road in Q1 to have the agreements in place early next year and also be into design. I'm not so worried about the pipeline, that we can do pretty quickly, but there's still a lot of things that need to happen with, you know, getting easements. It's about 12 miles between here and there. That's a lot of easements to secure. The designs need to be done, the construction needs to be done. Our window of closing pretty quickly.
I don't know how long it takes to build an intake, but yeah, that, probably a little bit of time consuming there.
Yep,
So, yeah.
yep.
Cause with the intake we have now, boy, it'd be tough.
We would have to start next year.
Yep.
Yeah, like early next year
Yep.
probably, so.
Can we set a timeline, you know, a rough date that we wanna know by? Cause if we have to do this, do we need to have this done by the first of the year? A commitment?
We
Yeah,
started
that-
that discussion today with the Blue Flint people, you know, to try and come up with a timeline as to when we get either a yes or a no from them. And some of those talks, you know, are gonna include, the governor's office and, state ag commissioner and others that are involved at that level, so. But, yeah, part of our discussion was to, push them into some kind of a decision by, say, January,
Yeah, that
or,
Yeah.
or December of this year, yeah.
Right, because that's what I'm worried about, is.
Yeah, well, just Corey talked about the, you know, the preliminary design and engineering of, you know, say your intake structure and your
Mhm.
treatment plant, all of that stuff takes a lot of time. And
Right, and we
So-
basically
We got a
have.
head start on the intake.
We have a head start on the intake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were actually bidding.
We bid it once.
So.
But you'll have to modify that
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have
expand
to make some adjustments.
Yeah,
Right.
so, I mean, the pipeline design, a pump station design, we can do that all pretty quickly in 6 months. That's not challenging. The easement acquisition is gonna take all of, 3 to 6 months, depending on, the specific landowners. And then the water treatment plant, you're looking at a 9-month design and a, 15-month build-out. So there's already 24 months. And I've let them know, I've let Blue Flint know that where we're sitting at today, meeting, having that fully redundant water supply on July 1st, 2022 may not happen.
Right.
And
So do we need another pump at Blue Flint to pump that water back to us? Or do they have enough pressure to push that all the way
no,
back?
there would be a pump station to push, there's a high spot between, I think Blue Flint sits a little bit higher
Yeah.
than the city for the most part, but then there's also a high spot between Washburn that we've got to pump both the water over and, going both ways. So if we brought the water back, we'd have a pump station up there and a meter, so Lynn knows how much water he's taking, and then we'd have a meter here, basically your cash register on the wastewater side, and the meter here on the cash register sending the water out, so. And then Lynn would also have a potable water meter up there as well, but we've also proposed, suggested to them that they also include about 2 million gallons of storage as part of the project on site, so they've got that there so that they can operate, if and when we have a line break or a pump goes down or power outage or whatever, they've got 3 days of operating storage to get them by.
So what you need from us is a, like a motion to move forward, I guess.
Yep.
or,
Basically, a motion that states the city is interested in continuing to pursue this, opportunity with McLean Sheridan and Blue Flint. I don't know that right now it needs to be any more
Right.
elaborate than that. We'll bring other things back in the future, memorandum of understanding, and then water supply agreement, that would have a lot more meat on the bones than what we've got here. We wanted to take this first step in terms of giving Blue Flint an idea what the cost of service is, so they know what they're dealing with. They can make their own financial decisions of whether they wanna pursue this, or if they wanna look at something else, and
Right.
that's,
Well, this is huge for the city. I mean, this is such a great advantage to us. I mean, so I will make the motion that we, how do I word that? That we make a commitment to move forward with this. And, I guess the next step would be a memorandum of agreement, right?
memorandum of understanding.
Understanding.
It's basically an outline of what the agreements would look like.
Okay.
It's just a starting point, so everybody.
Agree to agree.
Yep, we agree to agree.
Right. That'll be my motion, if you can write that properly somehow.
And these numbers, Larry, these numbers can be tweaked a little bit.
Right.
They're not cast in stone. If we see as we go down the road that there's some changes, automatically we would make those changes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay. Further discussion? Anybody?
Just so we have a timeline, as sooner the better.
Well, the sooner the better, yeah,
Yep.
but that's
So-
kinda, you know, they're in a lot of more negotiations than we're aware of,
Right,
so,
just so
yeah.
that they're aware of it, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're already behind the 8 ball on part of it.
Okay, any other discussion? Colin?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Don?
Yes.
Yes, okay, very good. Good presentation, yeah, I like it. It's huge.
Well, thank you for your time, and
Thanks for coming
if
in.
you guys have any questions, need anything else, you guys know where to find us.
Okay, okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you.
See you later.
Ordinance 154, MDU, second reading. I'll make a motion to forego the actual second reading. And approve it as read, or as printed. That was a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Or Colin?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Don?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, then I will make a motion to approve the second reading, and be the second reading and final approval of the ordinance 154 for MDU.
Second.
Discussion? Colin?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Yes. Candy Caravan,
Okay, they're looking at doing the candy caravan on October 30th. I don't know that it was actually voted on for sure, set in stone, but just in case, if we can shut down Main Street from 3:30 to 5:30.
what day?
October 30th. They're gonna do it on the Friday before.
And you're looking from where, like,
I'm guessing 3:30 to 5:30 again, from 5th Street to 7th Street.
6th Street to 7th, or
3:30 to 5 o'clock, it says.
Or 7th to 9th Street,
7th, 9th?
yeah.
Okay, we need a motion.
I make a motion to,
Sixth Street, you have people walking from the leader. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, it'd be
traffic.
6th Street,
You
what,
need Sixth Street blocked too.
to 9th Street, right?
They want 6 this year, okay.
Okay.
I make a motion to do the candy caravan, close down the road.
Second.
Discussion? You gonna need barricades, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So you have to let the guys know ahead of time. Okay. Colin?
Aye.
Marv?
Yes.
Aye.
Mike? Don?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, open walking at Memorial Hall?
I've had many calls, if we're going to allow them to walk in the Memorial Hall again this winter, if we are placing any restrictions, what our dates are gonna be, times.
I believe that the hall can be open, we need to work with construction and other events. I don't believe there should be any really restrictions. Usually, most people come as a group or together and they walk together, and so I believe we should open it up. I was thinking a little bit later in the month here. You know, did we open it up the 15th last year? I'm not sure when we.
It was 1st of October last
First.
year, wasn't it?
I think it was the first.
Was it the first? Okay.
I think it was, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was open before I started.
But with the nice weather and stuff,
Nice weather's
you know,
fine,
and,
but, you know, it can turn in a dime.
Yep.
And we don't wanna have to wait for a meeting to,
Right.
you know.
yeah, well, yeah, we're just working on construction. You know, the doors will be going in here pretty, when they get them, so,
Well, yeah, they could just use the other door then.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, both doors will be going in, so,
yeah, probably do one at a time though.
yeah. But we can open it October 1st.
Okay, kinda just run the same Time says last year,
Yep,
I'm assuming,
8 to 3:30,
Eight to-
cause then the school gets
Yep,
in there
the-
at 3:30.
yeah.
you know, and when there's an event, we close it, you know,
Right.
to walking, you know,
Yeah.
like we did before, so. That's my motion, that we open it up.
Second.
Discussion, Colin?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so,
Effective tomorrow?
yep,
Yep.
No, 4 or 5 days ago.
yeah,
We can't go back in
go back in time. Done writing?
Yep.
McLean County Emergency Operations Plan. Clayton, you're involved in that. You had the most questions.
Well, my question is, a lot of it, the way it's written, goes to the county commissioners, then it kind of works down from there. I'd like to see a little bit more input from the mayors of the city and stuff like that, instead of just the county commissioners. Because, everything don't work quite the way they think it should.
Have you talked to Noel about this at all?
Not yet, haven't had time to talk to her about it.
It might be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Maybe before next meeting and then, you know, maybe we can approve it next meeting, maybe? I mean, if we get changes, or then maybe there's ideas that she would
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that you-
this is a reference, it's one of those, I'm worried that if we vote on this, we can vote on this, but we should be able to change it if we have to. Cause I don't wanna tie our hands, or the next commissioner's hands, that we're always gonna run this deal. If it's a recommendation, we can go by it, because like they talk about the dams, well, if the dam breaks, we're probably gonna go with what the state does and not the county. You know,
Well,
The-
yeah,
The gist of it kind of is that it's a countywide type thing, so it's set up for the whole county. And when you talk anything outside of the city limits, that's where the county commissioners come in, cause it's countywide. If it's anything that happens within Washburn city limits, then it happens that it's a local thing, then it becomes a little bit different, than the county commissioners don't have much to do with it.
right.
The oil leak that we had a couple years ago, that night when that happened, I was number one to get called. Noel was number two, because she was emergency management. Nobody on the city commission that night got called because Noel was the city commissioner, so it never went any farther. Had there been, if she wouldn't have been like right now, if it happened tonight, then more than likely, I would make sure Larry got called. Somebody, one of you guys would get called about it, as well as that wasn't a very big leak, but
Right.
the way that whole plan is set up with is, if something happens wherever, the idea is that it's a go-to as far as what's gonna happen down the road, who gets notified, who's in charge of what, who does what. And, you know, that's part of the reason I was involved with writing it, helping writing it, because usually the fire chief of the community is the first one involved in the
Right.
fire thing.
So what you're saying is, it's just kind of a plan so you notify the right people.
Yep.
And it doesn't necessarily call people out, it just,
Correct.
you know,
And, get microphones. The biggest reason for this whole thing is for government. FEMA. That's the biggest thing. If we wanna get grants for anything, one of the things, somewhere along down the line, they're gonna say, do you have a county operations plan?
right.
The operations plan.
This was required, it
If
was,
you say no, they're gonna say, go get your money from somebody else.
it was required for us to have it to do the application for the pre-disaster mitigation grant that we got for the intake. The $1 million grant, we had to show that
Yeah.
the city had McLean County had a emergency response plan. That's part of it.
Actually, the deal with, you guys coming up with that was part of the reason why it got renewed. Because we started, and it wasn't just Washburn, there was other places, we haven't done this thing in like 15, 20 years.
Right.
So it was outdated. So there were some people that started kinda hemming and hawing around because this plan was so old, so
Right.
they got us all together and we said.
So what's all included in the plan? Tornadoes, winds, stuff like that, or?
Tornado, you name it.
Pretty much anything and everything.
Anything and everything?
It's
Okay
right
to
down
have a
to,
plan.
we've done, live shooting exercise at school last year, that is in there. That's determines who's gonna be in charge. Deal like that, the sheriff's department takes lead on number two.
So, like,
Still won't let me carry a gun.
like I brought up here at one of our meetings about that wind that we had come through. Nobody actually warned anybody that the wind was coming, you know? So, is this plan gonna change so people are aware of what's gonna happen, or going to happen? Or is it just a blueprint?
This plan doesn't have anything to do with that type of a situation. It has to do with the situation afterwards, after a tornado or after a wind event comes through, after you have an emergency.
Why do you have a plan then if you're doing something after the fact before that actually happens? Other than cleanup, that's just normal.
Same way with if you have a hazardous spill, you can't plan for it beforehand until after it happens.
I know, but you clean up the spill, and then you just do the paperwork afterwards.
Right.
So,
Having a plan set ahead of time and with your different groups and agencies set up to know how to respond to it will definitely streamline the process and make it much quicker and more efficient. It's good to have an emergency response plan. I think what you're talking about, Don, is having like a, like a run-through drills, be prepared for, if we have, a tornado coming up, like, you're talking about what to do ahead of it, but this is more of a response plan. And there definitely is some benefit to having a response plan.
I can see where it's gonna be a benefit to get grants and stuff like that, but if you don't have warning that something's coming, emergency plan should at least give you something to work ahead of time on. You know what I'm saying?
Depends on the warning.
It doesn't make any difference what the warning is. It could be a tornado, it could be a severe snowstorm, it could be sleet storm coming in, it could be high winds.
That's gonna be your National Weather Service. They're the ones that should be pushing out.
I know,
That
I know.
That day of that wind event, they were talking about that from that morning. I heard it on the.
Yeah, but not everybody hears it.
Oh, true.
I never heard it until it came through.
That night though, the siren not getting shut off, that was my fault. I was sitting up watching it when it came into town, and I never had them set off the sirens, but we typically don't for a wind. That's a tornado. That's what we were watching for that night.
Right.
Now, the other thing is with those sirens, then, get off track. But
Yeah,
anyway,
we're getting a little carried away, but let's
Yeah.
try and wrap this up.
Okay,
Yeah.
the deal with the sirens is the sirens are designed to tell people to get inside. They're not designed to tell people inside that there's something coming. They are strictly for anybody who's outside to warn them. It's not to warn people that are inside their house.
Well, inside, go to the basement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you can hear it.
Okay,
That night, when that wind hit, I guarantee you, nobody would've heard that siren. I could've been standing underneath this thing, you'd never heard it that night.
well, it's just something I'm bringing up, because, I agree with the emergency plan though.
Yeah, I do too. I just want more involvement with the commissions. I didn't know about Noel knowing about the stuff and doing it that way.
Well,
But we need to know.
But I think he just explained it, that, if it happens in the city, it doesn't directly go to the county.
Well,
That
that's-
goes to the city, so.
That's what,
That's where you
that's not
have
how I
to-
read it in the deal. It says these and these and,
That's where you have to get, if you read the whole 1,600 pages of it, and if
I
you
know, right,
could
yeah.
absorb all that, which I never have been able to, you'd probably pick it out in there where it's at, but
well, that's why I wanted explanation,
yeah, but it is, if something happened in the city of Washburn, then it would work differently than if it was something that happened at Great River.
So did this pretty much answer the questions you needed?
Yep, basically, yeah, that we're not being cut out
Right.
of the system. Like when there's a snowstorm and they shut 83 down, they need people to come into Washburn on the highway to be taken care of at the hall, that stuff, that Larry knows about it and, because in some of the paperwork, it's one of those, are we compliant with the ADH, deal with the hall, which we weren't. So we're working on that.
But that's, we're getting way too far off on.
Well, that's what's in that deal.
I know, I get that, but this is a guideline to go, if this happens, this is who you need to get a hold of, this is what you need to do, you know, because a lot of times when something happens, you're not thinking straight. And, you know, God, I never thought about calling so-and-so, I should've called them, you know? It just gives you a guideline to what to go by. I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of work was put into this thing. And I really think we should adopt it, you know?
With the ability to opt out if we have to, right? It's not set in
I
stone.
wouldn't
It's a
wanna opt
guideline.
out.
It's a
Mike.
guideline, why would you opt out?
We've had a risk management plan for years up there, it's just something that gives you guidelines, some information to go on, nothing more, nothing less.
Doesn't say,
It's
it
just-
doesn't say you have to absolutely do this,
Right.
you know? It's a guideline, so. But we've kind of beat this to death. So, we got way off course.
It's gotta be a good idea.
Do you wanna make a motion to, go with that?
I make the motion, we adopt this plan.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Further discussion? Colin?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
That was fun.
Yeah, you got way too carried away. Gov card, BDS, credit card processing service.
Okay, so I got a little more information from Black Mountain. They do work directly with BDS. We've talked about this multiple times. They are going to waive our installment fee if they want, or if we decide to go with them. GovCard is another option that we could go with. They're more, they would work with BDS, or with Black Mountain if they want. The annual maintenance for that would be like $270. The credit card payment files must be manually updated like we're doing now. They will not automatically post to that, and hourly fees of $175 will be charged for all time spent working with third-party customer processor fees to adapt to their format and their questions. The initial purchase is $1,500, but they did say that they would waive that fee. The annual maintenance is $270. So a little bit higher than what BDS would be, and then any charges incurred after that, if we would need help interfacing or going forward with them, it would all be charged $175 an hour. Because they're
So
not
which one do you like?
in contract with them.
Which one's gonna be easier for you guys to work with?
Probably BDS, just because they're intermingle and they coincide together, but GovCard would work. I know there's another city that does use it too, and it works for them. It's just that they're
Either or is about the same amount of work?
Yeah, GovCard's gonna be a little bit more work on our end, because we'll have to manually go in and apply the payments, where every morning if we log in with using BDS, it's set up to post automatically every day, so it would eliminate some work on our end here. It's not a hard step, but it,
I think it's kind of what would be the most convenient for you and what you think would work best for you.
I think BDS, you know,
yeah.
that works better with the other one, I would say go that route.
Okay. And I think, I mean, both would be, but I think just with how it would work and set up and, or to incur those extra costs if we have to have an issue, it could add up. You know, not to say that it would, but there's a
Right, yeah.
possibility, so.
Yeah, I mean, even
How
reading
long
here,
is
you know,
that thing?
it's your third-party
It was
processor
long.
must manage our file specs and all that, so, yeah. I would say BDS, if that's what you wanna go with.
Okay.
Very good.
You don't gotta vote? Motion, nothing?
We don't have to on that one, no, it's just office stuff, so. Special Assessment Assistant Applications. Everybody know what that is, you guys? What that is for, certain income brackets, you can have, part of your assessments for water and sewer paid for by, the city has this fund called Special Assessment Assistance Fund. And people have to apply to it every year, and it's only good for that 1 year. But, based on your income, you can get like, 75, 50, 25% paid of your special assessments for water and sewer. Doesn't work for streets, just water and sewer, correct?
Yep.
So, it looks like we had, how many this year? 8? Or
Yeah, I think 6 are getting it.
2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah, I think there were 8 applied, but only 6 get it because 2 of them didn't have water and sewer.
Where's the application at?
We have to get one every year.
Sign me up.
Hey, people know about it, so.
Yep.
I didn't.
Your
Me
money.
neither. I don't have an income.
Really, you'll get Social Security?
Oh, yeah, but
Well, there
that's
you
not
go.
really an income.
Well, it's, whatever, you have a business, you get income. Anyway, if you think you're qualified for it, you sure can.
You can have a water meter, though.
Well, you gotta have special.
Yeah.
That aren't paid for. Anyway, so, Chelsea has reviewed these, and I looked at them this morning. And so the total, for this year is $4,741.53. And I believe there's what, about 8,000 in,
Yep, 8,076.50 is the current balance in there.
okay. So, after reviewing the applications, I will, move that we, do these, or pay these 6 special assessment assistants, this up for $4,741.53.
I make a motion.
I did.
Oh, I'll second it too.
Okay, any other questions on this? This money comes from the sales and use tax fund. That's where the money has come from.
Do we put something in the paper on this to, let people know that there is something like that?
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
there's-
advertised too, it's on the Access channel, it's
Is it?
on, the website, the application.
Okay, what about people that don't have computers?
You come in and you get an application. Access
Yeah.
channel is on TV.
Okay, okay, just asking.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Colin?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Mike?
Hi.
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, in a related subject on this, so we basically, we're gonna have about 3250 left in it after this. We're gonna have that vote coming up to, change the home rule charter, which would change the, which would also change the, sales and use, funding, how that's going to be distributed. So, once that happens, this funding for this project could potentially go away. But I would like to see more money taken out of the sales and use funds right now, before the vote, so that we can fund this for years into the future. I would make a motion to, or before I motion, I'm gonna suggest that we, make a request to the Sales and Use Tax, Committee for, say, $40,000 out of the, economic development part to fund this probably fund it for another, I don't know, 8-10 years.
Yeah.
What does everybody think of that?
Good idea.
You're gonna fund it for 8 to 10 years, and you better have funds in there to cover that amount of time.
Well, that's why I would ask for like, it goes into a special account. It's a special account. We've been, roughly it's about 4,000 to 5,000 a year, I think.
Yeah, it's gone down, it was,
Is it legal to do it that way?
Yeah.
That's how it was done before, we're
yeah,
just running low on money.
In 2017, there was 12,600 was deposited in there to keep the balance at roughly 1,200. And then nothing's been put into there since 2017, and in 18, 10,360 was paid out. 2019 had 8,076, or that was the ending balance, they paid
That
out
was the ending
2,000,
balance, yeah.
so.
I am gonna make a motion to go to the Sales and Use Tax Committee and request $50,000 for this fund so that it can be, so we can have a fund to help fund this for the next, 8, 10, 12 years. This is just to go, the motion is just to go to the committee, they get to make the decision, so.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Colin?
No.
Okay, Marv?
No.
Mike?
Aye.
Don?
Would that money collect interest in that account or not?
No, because it's just sitting aside in it.
It's
Well-
just sitting in an idle account then?
Oh, no, it's actually in the general
No,
fund.
because it's still part of,
Part of the general fund, it's just in its own fund,
yeah,
right?
where it's reserved, I guess.
Right.
Okay, if, say, we needed that money for something else,
No,
we can't take it out of there. Once it goes in, it goes in.
Mhm.
yep.
That's a tough decision. I'll say yes.
I'll say yes. Okay. So you'll set up a meeting with Sales and Use on that? You're still writing, okay.
You can go.
Special assessments to McLean County.
We only have 2 this year. One's for mowing, and then one is for sewer, that will be assessed.
Brent Sanders, his was only 1,000?
Yeah, because we reduced it down.
Oh, okay. So do we need to motion these to,
Yeah,
I imagine we do.
yes.
Okay. Because remember when we talked with Brent Sanders, he said, well, I want it to be assessed, so.
Mm-hmm. And we cut that in half, or, we reduced it.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Mowing.
Mowing.
Well, I'll make a motion, we assess those back to property owners. To the county, I guess, yeah.
Right, it'll go on their taxes.
Yeah. It's just so I can certify them to the county.
Right.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Colin?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Fire department, furnace. You all have a paper here? It's for, actually, the city building. That's across the street, right? Do you think 2,000 BTU is a bit strong?
I have no idea. Although if you went by my recommendation, I kind of gave them grief. I told them whatever they say and then take the times 2.
Because that, what size is the building?
I disagree with what they always come up with a recommendation for a furnace, because it seems like it just barely gets by.
This is what was currently in there,
Oh, it is?
yes.
Yeah, that furnace crapped out last spring, and then we drained some trucks and put some heaters in there just to get by until it warmed up a little bit. We, kinda need heat in that building, it's stuff that we keep on there anyway. And I think the city has some stuff in there that probably wouldn't do it any good to get cold.
What was the deal, 2,000 BTU?
200,000.
200,000.
Oh, that's what I.
200,000,
I was
which,
thinking, that's
you know,
like a match.
seems a little bit high, but, you know, it's the recovery rate, you know, it all depends on what you're doing. If we're gonna keep it, 50 degrees, 60 degrees, I don't know what you're looking for
They got good
temperature.
insulated doors in it and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
I'm thinking it's a high efficiency heater, I didn't get a chance to read it much, but
Oh, yeah, the one that they're putting in there, I think is what it,
I think that's what it is.
the one that's in there now is nowhere near.
No, that's nothing.
No.
So, and I make a motion that we put the new furnace in there for $3,075, I think that's what it was on
Yep.
I'll second it.
And if we have to, the electricity, you know, if we,
Well,
it
that's
should be all
separate.
right,
It should be fine, but,
should be, but.
At least we're staying local.
Mm-hmm.
always. Discussion? Colin?
I would maybe just amend that to cover any electrical, just to put a not to exceed number by. That says it's not including electrical, who's gonna,
Well,
do we need any?
there's a wire there already, but this is just a bid for the furnace, not for the,
right. Well, I'm just seeing the bid does not include any electrical.
right.
I mean,
Well, that-
For sure, we don't need any, just to make sure we're covered.
The next line says the bid contains all the equipment, materials, and labor to do the job.
Except,
Right, well, actually, the motion was just for the furnace and installation of the furnace without the electrical, which you said. I'm sure the electrical will be minor compared to, unless you wanna,
Yeah,
unless you wanna amend
so
something
we
for
don't
the
have
electrical
somebody
in
come
there.
back and question them, I'm okay with that.
I mean,
It's the way it's worded.
I mean, since we don't have a unit, or a price on the electrical, it's kinda hard to set a price. You know, but,
Okay, just go as is.
okay.
Just motion.
All right, Colin?
Aye.
Hey, no one seconded.
Yeah, you did. Done.
did you second that?
Yes, yes, I did.
You think
Mark?
you did?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, yes, okay. Holy moly.
Aren't you supposed to be working this time? It's a meeting.
I was bored.
Well, you must be.
Boy.
We come to a meeting and
Your comments, you came down here?
All right. Next one, CARES Act reimbursement. This kinda ties in with the budget, kinda. If you wanna explain that real quick on the reimbursement.
Okay, so the CARES Act, was a payroll reimbursement. McLean County turned in all their payroll costs, including benefits, for their law enforcement personnel for March to July 2020. And the McLean County Commission passed a motion to reimburse 5 months of the police contracts to the cities that had signed contracts for the 2020 year. We received $67,000 from McLean County for that. The whole CARES Act with the stipulation was that it would be used to release taxpayers of that. So we have it sitting in there, it can be transferred over, but I took that $67,000 off of what our police contract would be for 2021 to reduce what we'd be levying for 2021.
Well, Chelsea and I talked about that, and we thought, well, what better way to, you know, give taxpayers relief than to, you know, take it off of our budget, you know? I mean, obviously, you're not gonna write everybody a check for $5, so, you know, and we don't have to do that. That was just a thought that we came up with, okay? So what it did was, like I said, this ties in with the budget, because that's the next thing on our list, is, what was it? It basically cut our police contract in not quite half, right?
Yeah, cause it was $167,000 roughly, so now we're sitting at for $100,156.89.
If that's what we decide to do with it.
Yes.
so does this happen every year, that we get money back?
No, this is just coronavirus CARES Act relief.
CARES Act, yes.
So it'll be a one-time thing more than likely.
And basically, it was a refund of our payment to the county.
For 5 months of
For-
what we paid.
For what we pay the county for police work, so we thought it'd be a good place to put it, but it's entirely up to the commission what they want to do with it.
It's just when this CARES Act was written, it was requested in there that it was used to relieve burden of taxpayer, or, you know, our taxpayers and help them out, not just to go buy any piece of equipment.
So this wouldn't be a blueprint for the following year for other charge to the city then?
This could be a one-time thing.
One-time thing.
Um,
But it said something in there about the budget, it wasn't supposed to be, something with the budget, and I don't understand that.
So we got this check already?
We did, yes.
To me, it makes sense to drop our 2020, because we can still, that hasn't been approved yet, right? Our 2021 budget. It has or not?
It's not.
So-
That's what we're doing that tonight.
So, all right, so my suggestion would be to take and drop that, pull it out of the budget and lower that amount, so we pass that on to the people.
Right. So, how many mills would that be cutting off? It'd be, let's see.
We're
Mills.
roughly 4,700 is a mill.
Yeah, 47, so 60. Let's get it math.
13?
Yeah.
Hmm?
That'd be quite a savings.
I mean, we're still not gonna have a balanced budget as far as the general fund, but we never do, you know? So instead of, cause we were talking about, was it budgeting, we were talking about doing a,
Well, what, we must have a line item for police
we do,
budget now, so just pull this right out of the top of there, and
right,
that's what our budget will be.
right, but we're talking about like our property, our mills for our property tax now. The thing is, we were off by about $70,000 from having a balanced general fund budget. Which is very normal, we never have a balanced budget, you know? So we could either leave our mills at what we said at, what was it, 270,000, or our property tax?
Yeah.
Or we could take that off there and then just have our, property taxes be at roughly 200,000. We'd still be $70,000 off on our balance, but.
How come we would be 70,000 off? If you're gonna take 70,000 out of the budget?
Well, because we're about 70,000 off already before we do that.
Yeah, but we're
From our
talking about
income
the 20,
expenses.
we're talking about next year's budget, so
I know.
if you take 70,000 that you're, from the CARE thing here, so you're actually balanced budget then.
No.
Yeah. Because this was like 320. By reducing that, this puts us at 270, 156, we're levying 270,
I know, but,
not including the rest of the specials.
but what that's doing is, it's not lowering the property taxes. You're just balancing the budget. In order to lower property taxes, we have to take it off the 270 and take it down to 200.
Yes, because our mill is currently the same as it was at 56.
Right.
So we could take that down by, and put it roughly to 40. Because we could take off roughly 14.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
14 mils?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would rather do that.
But we haven't figured out whether our coal severance or that money's coming in like it's supposed to be.
Well, we have the estimates. I mean,
Right, and they're low from what we had before.
well, yeah, but it's,
So,
this is the projection that they're giving us. So, I mean, that's all we can go by.
So if we take it off the mills on the property tax, or if we take anything off the property value, so technically then next year, that would go back up to where it is now before we took it off, correct?
The,
You know what I'm saying?
well, you know, it's different every year.
I know, but, okay,
Your police contract would go back up to what it was before.
so does it make any difference where we take it off? If we take it off the police contract, it's still gonna be a savings to the landowner, isn't it? Or if we take it off the mills, it's still gonna be the same,
Well,
right?
if you taking it off the mills is the same as taking it off the police contract.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right. Right. But we're not gonna have a balanced budget. And we never have a balanced budget. So we were like $70,000 off being a balanced budget.
all we're doing is making it look good. if you take it off the mills that we have it, all it's making is the people think that we're doing something for them.
If you take it off to balance the budget, it doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything
for
for
mills.
anybody, you're
So
right,
then everybody's
exactly.
paying the same, so then everyone, where the hell does money go?
So I think we should
Take it off
take,
the police contract,
and then
off the
take it
mill,
off,
lower the mills, so people get.
lower the general
they see
property
it, yes.
taxes, so people can see that that's
Yes.
where it's actually going.
And then understanding that, yeah, it's probably gonna go up next year, but hey, it's a, it's a relief this year.
Right.
So then you got a balanced budget then.
No,
No.
we're still gonna be off.
I
All right, so with that being said, I think we agree on that. So this brings us into our final budget. We need to, has everybody had a chance to review this? Is everybody got anybody anybody have any questions on it?
I have one question.
What,
Did we buy that tarring machine?
that still hasn't come up yet.
But that's in next year's budget. You said you were gonna buy it,
I said I was gonna attempt to buy it.
so it fell
Besides,
through?
we're talking about budget, not buying,
I know,
buying machines
okay.
here, so.
Nice.
Just forget my point. Was there a couple other things you had tweaked on this? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'd moved. Let me see. Highways and streets for that repair and maintenance services from 20,000 to 17,000.
And that's, what line is that?
137.
Okay. Okay, yeah, you took, okay, you took that down, okay.
I took that down, and
There was one other one,
I adjusted the police contract,
right? Right.
so that shows the 100,000 there. I did increase the income on one of them. Oh, the cigarette tax, I think, was a little low compared to where it has been the last 2 years, so I increased that just a I think $200. I think it was at 3,000 to 3,200.
Hmm.
And there was an off.
Now, did you move that money out of that one fund to something else that we talked about at the last meeting on the budget? Remember, we had some excess money left over, and, I can't remember which fund it was, but we were gonna take it and put it someplace else?
That would be after the first of the year, I believe we were talking about.
Yeah, no funds.
But that doesn't include on the budget
No,
that we're talking about now then?
no.
Okay, okay.
No funds have been transferred.
Anybody have any questions on the budget? Good.
What was your, how many did mills did you take out this year?
We were
We're sitting
at,
at 56 right now.
56? What was last year's again? I know we up last year to make up that $200,000 difference. Is what we were lost.
well, right, yeah.
Did we drop it down this year?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was 65 last year.
That's what I wanna say too, 63 or 64.
Yeah, I think it was
in that
something like
area.
that. And
Our-
it's sitting at 54 right now, but if we reduce the mills with this, it's gonna drop it down even more.
Right, well, what we have right now
You reduce it
is-
with that 70,000 you're talking? Why would you want to?
because that was the idea of getting this money back to help people out with their property taxes.
Do we have that email from the county, or is it
Somebody
still
actually
at-
agrees with me on that.
It is in there.
Is it in here? Cause it was worded funny, I thought.
I just looked at it on Collins. And that came from League of Cities.
It's basically, this year, the city, okay, before we touched this, the city was at 65 point something, 36 mills?
Pretty much right
That
there.
sounds right. Yeah, but that includes the library has 4 mills, and the airport has 4 mills, and deficiency was 1 mill. So you take 9 mills off of there, it was 50, Must have been 56, huh? Was it 56 or 54?
Higher? 56, I bet.
56.
54.
So what this would do, it would take it down to 42, 43, somewhere there? Yeah. Yeah, so, well, and then, well, yeah, that plus the library and airport and efficiency would still be added on to that, so it'd be like 50. So rather than being like 55, it'd be like 51 or 52, so, yeah.
I have another question. So, we had this big thing tonight from that engineering firm on the costs and everything.
Yep.
Are we including that extra employee for the water plant starting next year then?
Nope.
Or are we starting the following year?
Well,
Cause that would have to go into this budget.
But we budgeted
No.
for another employee,
No,
though.
budget-
None of this would be going until 2022.
I know, but you like to have somebody on board ahead of time before it actually kicks in, right?
well, the thing is, we're not gonna hire anybody unless we know what's gonna happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
But we're talking about hiring somebody. That is
Right.
in our budget. We
Right.
have one person,
Right.
so.
Nothing to do with this water project, though.
Right,
He's a
no.
city employee.
Yeah, this
Right,
budget has
city
nothing to do
employee,
with
but I mean,
Right.
there is money in the budget already for that.
Right. Did you find out that last thing you were talking about? Or, okay, it was like only by $1,000, because we talked about it that one day.
Yeah, I think it was sales, the cigarette tax.
Okay, all right.
So Larry, now if you're dumping this down to 51 mills, is that still gonna give you enough money in your account to put that 167,000 in there for the police account?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, still covered.
Because our budget didn't change for next year.
That's why you were talking about taking that $70,000 out and bringing that back, the money you got right now, and putting that towards next year's,
Mhm.
and that's why you were lowering the mills.
Mhm.
So if you're lowering the mills, you're telling me that now you're only gonna budget 100,000 for the police count?
Correct.
Why would you do that? Why don't you leave that budgeted in there, how you got your budget? You just got $70,000 of play money that you can put aside to other little projects.
Can't use it for that.
It can only go towards the cop fund?
No, the idea.
They reimburse you money.
According to this, the emergency commission during the discussion and approval of this approach on August 3rd requested the cities and counties utilize this funding in a way that will benefit property taxpayers and keep property tax mill rates as low as possible.
Oh, okay. That's the whole idea of the CARES Act,
Right.
is to, take some of the burden off the people.
But it says, once received, it's reimbursements for expense already incurred, not future, not in a future budget. It's,
So you have to burn that, you have to use that this year.
This year.
On something.
it's not supposed to be
Put it back in there.
in the next budget. Because that's what's highlighted in yellow.
Where's it at?
Here. It's this year's budget.
There are reimbursement for expenses already incurred.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all appreciate what you're doing, trying to lower them taxes down, but if you can lower your mills down to even the 56 from where they were, up in the mid-60s last year, that's a hell of a help already. But if you can still keep and put all your money where you have to have it, and be okay for the year with that mill settage, I wouldn't drop the mills down just 'cause you're getting this money back. You shouldn't do that.
Spent as they are reimbursement for expenses only.
So where would we put the money if we're getting it back
I'm
then?
not saying that they're
The
spending.
budget's already
The
done for
expenses
this
have
year.
already been
Right.
incurred. Like, we've already
So
paid
where would
it,
that
the
money go
expenses
then?
have already been
That would be
incurred.
just in the general
So now we
fund.
got it back, it's
'Cause that's where the
reimbursement
money
for
comes
expenses
out of,
already
for
incurred.
the
Yeah,
We've
it's
already
incurred.
paid them,
I've already paid it, yeah.
So that'd be just extra back into this year's fund then?
correct? Like, that's how I read it. It's a reimbursement for expenses already incurred, it's not
It's-
for going forward.
Right, we're not supposed to be using it as a budget.
they're considered reimbursement for expenses already incurred. You're getting it because the expenses have already been incurred.
Mm-hmm.
You've already paid them, so they're giving you a refund.
Where are you reading this
Play button.
budget thing at?
Highlighted.
The-
highlighted.
In the
I
yellow?
don't-
Yellow,
I-
yeah,
I
it's
don't read it
already
that way.
incurred.
Flexibility created in the
Well,
city
it
or
says
county
incurred,
budget
yeah.
by coverage
Read that
law
too.
enforcement enforcement can be used as determined by the city or local, based on local circumstances. I don't see where that is.
Well, if we're balancing our budget, we're
Are
helping
considered spent as
our tax
reimbursement.
levy is what it's considered.
Flexibility created in the city by covering these law enforcement payroll expenses can be used as determined by the city or county based on local circumstances. Energy Commission during the discussion and approval of this approach on August, counties utilize this funding in a way that will benefit property taxpayers and keep the property tax mill levy rates as low as possible. Well, if you're talking about mill levy rates,
65, now you're down to.
what else can you do? I don't see where it says you can't do that. Once received by city county, city funds are considered spent as they
Well,
are.
I mean, I get what Kid is saying too, 'cause we did lower them from last year to this year, not as a result of this, but we did lower.
Created in the city or county budget by covering these law enforcement
should have an
expenses can be used to determine the city. This says we can do exactly what we're saying. we're gonna
We
do.
can, yeah.
Yeah,
But like I
but-
said, we're just putting lipstick on a pig. That's all we're doing.
That's a heck of a
I thought you
term.
said we couldn't do that according to that.
No, it says not to use it as but it's for this year.
Where does it say that?
It
I
says,
think
use it
the
for,
interpretation of how you're reading it and how everyone else is reading are two different
It
things.
says.
reimbursement for expenses already incurred.
Yep.
Expenses already incurred, so.
Yeah, it's a reimbursement of what we've already spent.
Okay, so let's go back last year's and redo the mills.
But we're getting money back, we can't redo them from last year.
Exactly, because this is already
It says
spent.
right there to use for mill levies, I mean, it says right there.
No, to keep the mill levies down, not to use them
How are you
for
gonna
it.
keep the mill levies down?
Well, we balance
if you
the
don't
budget.
Put it for the next one.
We'll balance the budget.
I think we need to take it off the property taxes. The thing is, you look at these, we've never had a balanced budget that I know of, which doesn't necessarily mean anything because it's all a guesstimate, you know? It's all a guesstimate. You know, that's all budgets are, is a guesstimate.
Heck of a way to run a railroad though. Not worried about if you got a balanced budget or not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, there's so many unknowns, that's the problem.
Right, I know about the unknowns, but if you have a balanced budget when you begin, then you can accommodate.
Is there any stipulation to say we can't split that up? By that, I mean, what do we get, $70,000, take $10,000, put it towards lowering the mills, and take the other 60, put it aside, so.
Pay my water bill.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, for a rainy
So we
day.
got it, I mean, that way we are lowering the damn mills.
And we could get a
I
rebate.
think you're defeating the purpose of bringing that money back, or giving that money back to us.
Well, but what I'm saying though is now this money's in there, it's just going next year, or the year after, whatever it may be, instead of budgeting X number of dollars, we can budget $60,000 less.
Well, that's what we're doing. Budgeting $67,000 less for next year. Or not budgeting, we're knocking down 67, we're knocking off 14 mils. That's huge.
But this year, we're still in the hole. Right?
What do you mean?
More money's going out than what we brought in this year, right?
We don't know that. How would we know that?
Well, that's the problem, we don't.
Exactly.
So you're giving money back for next year
Do we need
that we
to-
don't even know if it's,
Do we need to table this and get
We need to table it.
get a hold of somebody that's got a more firm
We have to have this in by the 10th. We have to have it done by the
It has
10th.
to be in Friday.
budget?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's due the 10th, so it has to be to the.
We should
I'm
have,
not saying we
Friday.
can't approve the budget as is, but this is a separate
Yeah.
The
We
street
should probably have
fund,
an
separate deal,
accountant
doesn't
or,
have to go on the budget.
or a lawyer look at this and to determine what the exact words mean in that letter, you know?
Well, it,
It came
It
from the
pretty-
League of Cities, so I could get an answer tomorrow.
it pretty much said though that it gives us, was it flexibility to kind of do it, how does that wording it? There's something about flexibility in there or something, wasn't there? What about in the middle?
The flexibility created in the city or county budget by covering these law enforcement payroll expenses can be used as determined by the city or county based on local circumstances. Emergency Commission, during the discussion and approval of this approach on August 3rd, requested that cities and counties utilize this funding in a way that will benefit property tax payers and keep property tax mill rates as low as possible.
If we take it off of next year's budget as a lowering of the mill levy, is the city gonna get in trouble because we did it this way? Or is this money for this year for expenses we already incurred, so they would go into the general fund then?
Right, see, because we already paid this.
Right.
We're just getting
Yeah,
part of it back.
so would we be in trouble if we put it in next year's budget? That's what I'm asking.
Well, we would put it in the general fund, and then we would just reduce the mill. What's the difference?
Yeah, we still could reduce the mills for next year, because we'd have $70,000 in this year yet, right?
Well, yeah, basically what we're saying is we got an extra $67,000, we'll drop our mills by, what, 14 mills or whatever it is. The idea is to get the property, or the property taxes lowered. I mean, it says right there, you know, to lower the mills, it says right in the thing. So, how can you lower the mills if you don't put it in next year's budget? You can't.
But we'll just turn around and next year, if we're way behind and didn't get enough coal severance or whatever, we're just gonna increase the mills way up anyway.
That would be for the next year though.
That would be for-
Well, yeah, it would be just in the next
2022.
year's budget, you know,
You can't
you just keep
change
moving
the
stuff
tax
around.
because That's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about 2020 stuff.
Yeah, you can't change 2020 tax, yeah,
Because it's already paid.
right, that's.
Yeah, we just don't know how much money's coming in yet.
Doesn't
we're
make any
not there
difference. We don't run on a balanced budget anyway, so if we're in a hole, doesn't make any difference we're in a hole or not.
Right, that's the way, you know,
That's the way cities are run.
that's the way, and that's not the way to run them.
2022 either.
Right, right.
What?
Well, the unknown's still gonna be there in 2022.
I know, it's always gonna be an unknown.
Because of coal severance.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It might
let's
not-
just lower the mills.
There might not be a power plant next year, who knows? Well, in 2 years, who knows?
That thing's history.
I don't think you should lower your mills, Larry, leave them where you're at and put that 70,000 in your fund. Cause either way you look at it, you're taking that money out and you're gonna be short that money on your police account. So the following year, you're gonna have to reinvest that mills anyway to get your police account back up.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's just me, but
Well,
I would leave it how it is, you got it down from 64 or 65 where we were at last year. I know we were high last year,
it was higher.
because we had to make up that 200,000 that we were missing. Or that was, and I don't know if you guys ever found that, where that got it back yet, or what?
Yeah, we refinanced, so we're gonna be way better shape.
Right, you know, so,
Um,
I mean, I'm sure you guys are going in the right direction, but I mean, you cut the mills down already, great, but don't cut out that 67,000, you know, to me, I would leave it in there, 'cause, you know, great, this year you can take it out, but now next year's budget, now you're gonna have to go back in and get 14 more mills from everybody, you know what I mean, to cover that deal.
That's kinda what grants are all about. Just cutting the costs for now, and then the year after, then you have to go back to what you were before.
Well, what we're doing is going back to what we were before. It's giving the people a break for a year, is what it's doing. We added like 23 mills last year for that deficiency. So we were at, oh man, so it'd be, let's see, 23. Yeah, we must have been, let's see, so we got 23 there, just a minute, 23, yeah. So we had about 52 and 23, so we were about 74 mills. About 74 mills, plus we had the library, which was 4 mills, the airport, another 4 mills. So yeah, we were way up there last year.
Right.
Way up there, like in
Exactly.
the 80s.
And now if you leave your police account in like you're doing, you're at what, 54? So you dropped it 20, I mean, you're right, well, you already dropped what, 23, 24 mils? You dropped it already,
Yeah, but that was a one-time deficiency thing, that was just for that deficiency,
right?
you know, and by doing that, we were able to refinance. And, you know, now we're actually gonna save like $580,000,
Right,
so,
but you still
But-
can't go, you still gotta have money to run,
well, we still will have money to run.
you know?
This is money we didn't expect to get, and I think,
So don't plan your,
so I think that if we can, you know, give people a little bit of a break this year, cause it's gonna go back up next year, that's what
yeah,
I
if
think.
you gave them a break of 23, 24 mils.
No.
You ain't gonna get down into the 40s running for mills in here. There's no way.
Well, we need to make a decision here. I think we need to lower our mills.
Well, I do too, but I also get what he's saying.
Well, I get what he's
I
saying.
think through this, so I guess, I'm gonna. Okay, what did we get for an exact amount?
67, she said.
We should just give the money back, then we wouldn't have this problem.
67, 165, 35.
Right?
Take, whatever, round it down, it's 7,000, whatever, roll that into the next year's budget so we can reduce a little bit, and roll the other 60,000 back into the general fund. So, we're giving them a break,
You're talking a mill and a half, right?
it's something, it doesn't say how much, but you're giving them something, you know?
That's better than lowering it a bunch and then next year come and ask them for more money again.
I
Well, we're
just know
we're
that-
gonna come back next year and ask them for more money anyway. Even if we put this in the general fund, we're still gonna ask them for that same more money.
Right, but you know as well as I do, you're gonna have people that, you know, if you give them this break this year, that's great and dandy, but then next year, you're gonna raise me 10 mills, what the hell?
Okay, here's the way I look at it, is last year, we whacked the crap out of them for an extra $110,000 to help cover this deficit. Now we're giving them a break of a little bit anyway,
Well,
of
we're
like
giving 'em-
$67,000.
Well, we
So
give
that
them,
actually makes them feel better.
right, but we give them quite a break, you know, dropping how many mills, 20-some mills, so that's gonna be a huge break.
We're not dropping 20-some mils.
No,
From last year.
From last year,
That was a special one-time thing.
I realize that, but it's still, it's, you know.
Wow. Let's just give the
So what
money
you're
back.
saying is, it's okay to raise it one year, a bunch of extra, but it's not okay to lower it one year when you have extra?
You can, you're just gonna have to probably jump it up back again. That's
Well,
what I'm
of course
saying,
it's gonna
rather,
go back up
rather than
again.
going from here down to here and back up to here. let's
Okay, I'm just
take
trying
it-
to get, I'm just trying to
take
save
it-
people some money, because we nailed them hard the last year. I'd like to give them a better break this year. That's my thoughts, okay? What does everybody else think? We need to move on here, so.
I think we should just approve the budget the way it is.
What are you gonna do with that money then?
Well, it'll help out, you know, in our general fund if we don't have enough money coming in, which we don't know yet.
So how is that lowering people's, property taxes, keeping their mills low?
Well,
According to
if,
what that says.
if we have that money and we don't have enough money coming in from our coal severance or anything like that, or our cigarette tax or whatever that we're low at,
That ain't what the thing says to do.
That's not what it says to do.
No.
I'm gonna make a motion that we use that money to buy down our general property tax levy by the 67,000 whatever dollars it is. That'll be my motion.
So we're not gonna take that off of the police fund then? The police fund stays at $167,000.
Okay, I made a motion, I need
I
a second,
second.
and then we can continue.
Okay, I'm still confused.
Do we have a second? Calling one last time, do we have a second?
We gotta do what this paragraph says.
Are you seconding?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a second. Now we'll discuss it. Answer your, ask.
So is this gonna come off of the police fund for next year? Or,
Okay, go ahead.
or are we gonna, we're still gonna reduce the mills for the property owner? But is that 67 gonna come off of the police fund?
It doesn't really matter, because we're putting it, it came back from our police.
Right, I know that.
So we're taking that line item and we're cutting that line item down that much.
Right, I understand
So it's coming
that.
off there, but it's all part of the general fund, so it's coming off the general fund.
Okay, I understand that, but you're gonna take it off of that general fund line saying police department?
Yes,
Okay,
that's my motion to do that, yes. That's what it would entail. Any other discussion?
So that money will be there for strictly police.
It will be in the general fund, yeah.
General fund, I want it in that account, police account,
That's fine.
cause when money goes into.
I don't think they have their own account, do they?
Huh?
Where's it at? It is in
Well, no, we budgeted
the
for
Public
it.
Welfare, Safety and Recreation account. I don't even know if that's even an account.
Well, that just-
Well, it's the one, yeah, it's police, professional fees for police is its own separate account, so
Well, we'll put it there.
we would have to transfer that $67,000 into that account, so at the end of the year, that line item budgets, because we're,
Because what stays there.
right, so then it balances at the end of the year.
Okay, you can do that.
Otherwise, it's gonna show that we're a deficit by $67,000, and that's
Right.
not really the case.
Right.
and that's just at the end of this year or next year?
No, we transfer it over next year so that when the budget gets put in there, it's gonna show this 1,156.89, along with the transfer of it from the general, just sitting in the regular general fund, over to this line item. So at the beginning of
Okay.
2021, our budget is still going to be 167, whatever exactly our police contract is. So at the end of the year, when we're done paying our 12 months, it should balance out to zero.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
So we're not
That's
showing that
good,
we're
that's good.
negative $67,000
Right, I
on that line
understand.
item.
But you would put that in that fund now, because it's in the general fund now, or not?
I would just roll over to the first of the year so that
First of the year.
it matches up to be that 167,000 that we're budgeting.
Okay.
I mean, we could put it now, it doesn't
I
matter.
mean, whatever.
Then we'll just show the,
However-
we could, and then we'll just show that
As long as
balance.
it's there, you know, so we get it in that fund.
At the end of the year, we can do it now, transfer it over, so then at the end of the year, we're showing that 67,000 that we had come in, and then it will match at the end of 2021.
Right. Any other discussion? Colin?
No.
Mark?
Aye.
Mike?
No. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's still this is still not the final budget, okay? So we're talking about lowering the mills from, what was it, 54, whatever that takes it down. Now we need to go finish the rest of the final budget. Is there any other corrections on the rest of the budget?
I have, have another question. You're gonna get tired of listening to me, but
That's okay.
if we start this project next year with Blue Flint,
Yep.
okay? Most likely Blue Flint's not gonna foot the bill right away. So are we gonna have to accrue some?
No.
We won't have to accrue a thing.
No,
So everything that's in this budget,
that's for our operating
that's
expenses.
for our operating,
Nothing with them,
and then nothing with Blue Flint?
nothing.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Because there are usually things that, pop up before they decide to pay, you know?
Yeah, not even nothing. Anything else in the budget? Anybody? Anybody? No?
Can I make a motion to pull the CARES fund back out of there?
Do whatever you want. If that's what you would like to do, you sure can, because we have 5 people here.
So in other words, after we get done tonight, this will be the final budget, and we cannot make any more changes to it.
If we approve it, unless we
We
don't
approve
approve it, then we go into, have to have another meeting.
That would be like arbitration then, huh?
You know, you gotta realize that, another thing too is, you know, our 2020 budget for the general was, 248,000. And next year was 270,000, so really, we're kinda putting this back to where we were this year by doing it. You know, if you look at it that way.
There's actually many ways to look at this thing.
You know, because we'll be taking, you know, from 270, we take away 67, so we build what, you know, I guess it'll be a little more than that, but, yeah. I was thinking backwards on this, but, yeah. Okay, 270, yeah, okay. 203, okay. Anything else on the budget? Do we have a motion to
Anyway, so
finalize the budget?
doesn't really make any difference.
Well, you just go back up next year.
Yeah, I
That's,
know.
you know, we could, if we wanted to make it look really good, we could get rid of next year's employee, even though we would hire somebody,
Mhm.
the budget would show that we lowered the deal,
I understand,
which is just not, makes sense.
I understand.
Wait,
I make a motion to approve the budget.
And I'll second it.
further discussion?
The way it is, the way it's written right here, without deducting that, or with deducting that?
We've already motioned to
Okay.
deduct that.
Okay.
With the changes. Discussion? Colin?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Mike?
No,
Don?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I know some of you guys are disappointed,
I guess it is what it is, right?
yeah, it's just whether it's red or black ink.
Yeah, that's right.
pretty much. Eric?
You remember what you were gonna say?
We can't
I do.
afford it, you're fired.
I have an outline, so I don't forget.
We need one of them.
Yeah.
So, you guys got the presentation by Corey, covered everything pretty well. I'll just say that, you know, as we continue on, I'll keep you guys informed on anything that I hear, up to date, so.
He mailed it to me, I emailed it today.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I would just say, you know, as we get closer, we'll get that memorandum of understanding, and there'll be more details, and like Corey put it, there'll be more meat on the bone as we get closer to it, and we'll wanna make sure that we have everything covered for the city's expenses on anything we go forward with, so, we'll keep an eye on that. Was there any, did you guys have any other questions on what Corey presented?
No, who's gonna oversee that project then? Is it gonna be Corey or is it will be you?
So Corey's, I will be overseeing everything for the city.
That's what I'm
Corey,
asking.
Corey will be for
The
the,
county.
Corey will be for McLean Sheridan.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
So,
And will they be paying your wages on that, or Blue Flint? Have you, or
So,
you overseeing
so
with the
any
city?
engineering fees that we would charge for like designing and building the intake, rebidding the intake, the work on the water plant, the expansion, that was all costs that we rolled up into what the capital improvements would be needed for the
Right.
city to do this. So yes, that would be either paid by the FEMA grant, the State Water Commission grant, or by Blue Flint,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Okay. So, I'm sure you guys are aware, but the river, if you aren't aware, I'm sure, Adam will tell you, but the river's pretty low. So right now, the releases at the Garrison Dam are down to about 14,000 cubic feet per second. Over the last 10 years, the intake at Washburn has had trouble right around 13,000 cubic feet per second, so not much difference there in flow. The big thing with that is, right now, we're at 14,000. It's projected to go down on the 8th, which is gonna be Thursday, down to 13,000. So Adam's been able to continue to run the intake, and make water. There's one peak during the day when depending on how the releases come out of the dam, whenever it hits here at Washburn, that it's lower on the intake for that one point, and that's when Adam has trouble, but otherwise, you've been able to manage.
Otherwise, for the most part, we're okay.
So we'll continue to watch that. I would expect that he might have some trouble on Thursday, and we'll just have to fine tune, when he's running that intake and running the plant to, make sure we're staying good there.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, we have trouble when the intake gets down low 13,000, right?
Yes.
This upgrade to the intake, will that solve that problem or not?
That's what we're working on to solve, yes. We would lower the intake by, I think we had it down 5 feet lower, just because on the other side of the river, the opposite side from the city, there's been a more well-established,
Channel's been there
channel.
50, 60 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So you'd have to extend out into the river more then, right?
Right, we would
Move
have,
to the other side of the
the
river.
intake would be on the other side, and we'd have to pump the water on a return line underneath the river to the water plant. And that's what we were trying to avoid with the intake project when we originally designed it, because it costs more money when you have to build a pump house and an intake on the other side and then pump the water across, than it would be if we could drill a line out a little bit further from the side that we're on. But the way that it is here, with a conventional intake, that's one that has a pipe out in the river with an intake screen. It's a conventional intake on a surface water. It's just, and with the Missouri River moving as much sediment as it does, that is a problem that is commonly found on the Missouri River with surface intakes. You know, we did a study to try to do wells. We did for a horizontal collector well and angle wells. We looked into other options. The geotech does not support that in the area of Washburn. We'd have to go 7 to 10 miles away to get a geology that works well with a well, with a collector well.
Plus
So,
the
like,
expense.
well, yeah, I mean, they're fairly expensive to build, and then you gotta pump it for quite a ways. You know, Bismarck is lucky enough to have they just installed a horizontal collector well, a number of years ago, about 10 years ago. Actually, I think it came online, we had the trouble around the flood of 2011, I think it came online in 2012 or 13. But it works, the geology works well there for it.
So we don't actually have an aquifer running underneath the riverbed where we are?
There's an aquifer there, it's just the geology,
How deep is it?
It's not much farther underneath the river, but you gotta have water to be able to recharge the aquifer, and with the geology that's there, it's not able to do that.
Okay.
Right in this immediate area around town. So that was the study that we did years ago, and Larry, I think it was 2016, so it's been about 4 years ago now.
Yeah, quite a while ago.
So, all that being said, we have to work with what we have, and that's gonna be a conventional intake. But we will have better luck on the other side of the river. Of course, once we would go into that, we would make sure we double check everything again, and that we're gonna be good on that side. You know, there's an intake over there right now, for agriculture, but I think they've been operating pretty well. Since they've had
had it running, so.
Yeah, they have a pump they put in the water,
Yeah, they walk it all the way down to
Yeah,
into the water.
So where would this building be then, on the shore or up on the bank?
The building, the pump house would be up on the bank.
Okay, now the river erodes, you know.
Yep, and we had
The bank gives away from time to time.
Yep, and we had it on our previous, plan set, we had it planned to, install riprap to protect that.
Okay.
That would be all part of it, but, I did attach some additional information from Todd Lindquist. He's the, project manager for the Army Corps up in Garrison. He's a very good source of information, and he usually he'll get back to you fairly quickly. I have trouble getting a hold of most other people I call at the Corps, but, he, you know, pointed me in the right direction, for their website where they put out the forecast, and that, on my report, or on my report, I attach his email, that link that's on there. If you type that in, you can get onto their website and you can see the updated report in real time. From what I attached for you guys, that I double checked again today, and it hasn't changed. It's still, cause this forecast was 9/23, and the one that I checked today still had the same projections to go down to 13,000 cubic feet per second from the dam starting on Thursday, so that's still the same. But, you know, Adam's done a good job running the intake and making sure that the city's had water. Throughout the last couple of years, we've had issues on and off again, actually pretty consistently, so he's done a great job there, and like I said, if we can get this, agreement with Blue Flint and we can build another intake, that'll be great for the city.
It'll save him hauling the water by pail.
Up to the tower.
Is our portable up and running, ready to go?
This time of year,
Pump?
we wouldn't even want to attempt to use that. Weather can change and we're gonna freeze up, so.
If we don't have no water, we have no water then.
Is there an
That's
argument
why
we
we gotta
could
put
have with
pressure on
the
the
Corps?
Corps.
Say they drop it to 13, we're having trouble, can they raise it back up?
I would absolutely say that you can put in, make your, you know, make yourself heard on the issues you're having, and I know Larry and I have talked about this a lot. They know that the city and not only Washburn, but other intakes along the river have issues at this water level. They're already experiencing issues. Washburn's not the only intake. I know the power plants have problems too. Obviously, you know, we pinged them right away when we started having issues, so they're aware. And I would just, if we continue to have issues, I would encourage us to keep calling. You all have a more of a voice than I do. When I go call the Army Corps of Engineers, when a city government calls and says, hey, you're shutting our intake out of water, they get a little bit bigger message heard than when I do.
Usually hard to deal with those people though.
You can always call our congressmen and senators.
Yep, and that would be another good one too, yep.
And I had talked to Adam about that a little bit today. He said, well, we'll see what happens when they lower it, and then we need to start making calls, we'll make calls, so.
Just call out the National Guard, we need water. Let them worry about it, call it a disaster.
I mean, we do have the pump, we can bring it up there, but.
Well, that's what I'm wondering,
As long as the weather holds nice, we'll be fine, but.
Should we do something with a pump where it's heated in a deal, so when the pump shuts off, it automatically backflows? You know, so we have a portable one that we can run a line out that floats. I know floating's not the best, I understand that. I don't know if they'll allow us to do that. Don't know.
We've done it before.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but if we keep the portable,
We do what we gotta do, and
Right.
it doesn't gonna take that long to set up if we need it.
I know the electrical, they run trench that underground, there's a post here now, so we can plug in, that's gonna save us, you know, half a day of setup time with the
Easy,
electrician, so.
Yep.
right, if we can keep it heated if we have to, you know, in
Well,
a
once you
heated.
turn a portable on, it's on, there is no shutting it off if it's freezing, is there? Once you turn the portable on, it's running.
Right, but you don't run
No,
an intake all
it
the
was
time.
set to turn on when the plant turned
Yeah.
on.
Right. It's just whether it's heated and
especially
self-timing.
this time of year,
Theoretically,
yes. Well, yeah.
We never tried it, but yeah. I mean, if it shuts off at night and the temperature's down to 20 degrees, we're gonna freeze up.
Yeah, but if it's in a heated deal or a shed, it's not gonna do that, right?
Well, the pump won't, but we still got lines,
The line.
and it's just, yeah.
Yeah, but do the lines stay
Well, that-
full or do they
you know,
backflow?
It's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's move on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just, talking about the intake a little bit more here, we have been submitting a questionnaire to the state revolving fund to get on the intended use plan to be eligible to draw a loan. The state revolving fund is a low-interest loan that we can get from the state. It's federal funds the state gets and they distribute out. The SRF loans are at 2% interest. It's a way that we commonly funded projects, in the past. So,
And
each
that's if we
year,
need it, right?
yeah, and each year you have to do an update questionnaire so that you're eligible again for the following year to write a loan application.
Yeah, and if this thing for Blueprint goes through, we'll be reimbursed anyways, right?
Yeah, that's the
That's
idea.
correct, right?
That's the idea. But this is just good to have, so the city has it as an option, it doesn't commit them to anything, so
Okay.
it's, just wanted to let you know that I submitted it on the city's behalf. The other thing was, we do these every quarter, we have that FEMA grant that I mentioned earlier, we have to update, the Department of Emergency Services, that we broker through them and they work with FEMA, with the feds. And we gotta submit an update report, to let them know where we're at with the intake. So they have that money set aside for us, those federal dollars, that grant. We have to let them know what we're doing with it. Right now, we haven't done anything with it. So, right now, we have that money, until the spring of 2021, so not that much further. And that was one of the questions and why I pushed Corey on that is the timeline and the schedule. The capital cost that would be required by Blue Flint will go up if we lose our grants that we have secured for the intake right now. So that's in their best interest too, to have something, because if they give me something, gives the city something, we can send that to the Department of Emergency Services and say, hey, this is where we're at with the intake, we will be using these funds, we have this plan to use it, so.
You can't work on this during the winter time then,
as far as.
intake,
We can work on on our design and plan.
but not the line itself then.
No. That would be something that we do next
Sure.
year,
Okay.
if it gets that fast, but, so anyway. So that was the update with the intake. Is there any questions on those items? Okay, we got the server project done at the water plant. Adam, everything good there?
Yeah, there was a screen that was bad, we got a replacement. There's just a few little tiny things to work out with Mike still, but for the most part, it's working. Yeah.
Okay. So, and we're under budget on that project, so that's good news. And Mike said that he will be closing that out shortly, so everything should stay that way, so.
Good.
So that's good there. Okay, and then the GIS project, that just kicked off this week. We started with, getting data on all of our projects we did since 2009, because that's when we did the original GIS project for you guys. And, Dan is gonna be in there working on updating all the features on everything that we had on that letter agreement for you guys. So, did Dan or Lucas give you a schedule on that? I think we were wanting to get that done by like November or the next couple of weeks. Did you guys talk about a schedule at all
I
with
have
him?
no idea.
Yeah, I know, I don't remember what it was, I think, it was by December, so I don't remember.
Okay, I think we'll have it done before December, but,
Okay.
yeah. So, the only other thing I had was there any questions on the GIS project? The only other thing that I didn't have it on my report was, the Main Avenue project.
Mhm.
That is gonna be,
I got that in here.
that work is gonna be next spring, is when we're gonna get that finished up. So, there is a little bit of grading work that needs to be touched up, and some seeding, some reseeding, so
down here?
we'll do that in the spring, yeah.
It got to be too late in the year, and I talked to Eric, and I said, we need to extend this because, they were supposed to do it in the spring, of course, they never got here, and I said, it's too late to even try and plant grass, because it's not gonna grow, so let's see if they'll extend it to next year, and they said, yeah, they would, so.
You just never know. I mean, we could have had 3 more weeks of nice weather like we're having this week, but we also could get a foot of snow next week. So
Right.
that's North Dakota in October, you never know what's gonna happen, so.
Yeah.
That's all I had for you guys, unless you had any questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Portfolios, Colin. Any word on the intake pumps as far as Clint, you get parts ordered and?
Yeah, he said I think he said they were going to arrive on the 14th, and then we go from there, once he's for sure, we got them.
Okay,
And then we'll,
we got,
we'll
you're staying
have
on,
that.
staying on board with him then as far as
Yep.
getting that moving along and finished before freeze up?
Good. Should be okay.
Yeah, I see somewhere we got membranes, those have been paid for.
They were paid for, but they're holding until spring, and then that's when we're doing the switch out, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
Spring.
picked it up last time or what? Or- I see we had a bill in there for the membrane.
But just, yeah, I think it was passed, but.
Cause we had to order them so far ahead.
Anyway, whatever, okay, sorry to interrupt.
Okay. That's all I got.
Okay. Mark?
No problem with the cops and fire department, right, Mike?
All right. Mike?
I talked to Todd in Western Frontier Insurance Agency, and they reevaluated the Memorial Hall. They believe the building was accessed close or a little bit over what it should be, but they are fine with staying with that. But the internal, the upgrades and stuff, what they call personal, they decided that they needed to go up, and I think he went from 100 and some thousand to 300,000.
Here it is. 117 to 321?
Yep, and the yearly premium would be $67.29.
That's it?
That's it. So it needed to be upgraded and done, so I make a motion that we approve that adjustment for the Memorial Hall.
I second it.
Discussion, questions?
Well, if he hadn't given away that $70,000, we could have probably reported this, but.
Well, it's only like 1,000% left.
Exactly.
Colin?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
And, what we're working on right now, as you see, the cement is being poured. The Legion's doing a great job. They came up with some extra cement, I believe, so they're doing the other side. There's a couple more projects, once we get the doors in, what we're talking about is changing the incline going up into the stage with cement to make it firm, the angle, because we're not compliant.
The stage?
No, not the flooring, I mean,
Flooring.
from the,
Okay.
yep, I was wrong. The flooring going into each door, so we're compliant. And we might, or they're talking about maybe we could change the closet on the west side of the building where the elevator is, to open that up more, because that closet don't get used in that utility room, the janitor's closet, because we've narrowed that up some, but we wanna make it so that we're handicapped accessible to the elevator from the west side. So that we're working on that. You know, that probably won't get done until next year.
I think when the kids come down there, they use that closet quite a bit. They throw all their coats and stuff in there.
Right, but I don't know if it has to be that big.
Maybe not, yeah.
You know, it's one of those, if we can improve that opening to make it better accessible,
Right.
what little closet space, you know.
Okay.
Then, the other thing we were talking about, down in the furnace room, to get that, re-cemented and leveled off, so we don't hurt ourselves, and,
That's bad.
so, that's the other project we wanna work with for right now. So, but we were going to do both sides of the front entrances, so that the ramps are right, so that everything works for everybody. And, you know, it'll probably be in January sometime.
Yeah.
Mike, is
Yep.
the plan to do the whole Memorial Hall parking lot? concrete or?
Someday.
Someday it
Why-
could be.
Why would you do two opposite sides? Why not do
I
concrete?
think it was,
you know,
originally there was only gonna be a sidewalk on,
Yeah.
on the Big Dipper side, but they got
They-
extra concrete, so they made it bigger.
Right.
And I suppose it's for, you know, if it's like raining and stuff, you can actually park on there and get out and walk around without
Yeah.
getting muddy, or,
So if they wanna do it and the product's there, that was the best way to do it, for right now, to use the product. Cause maybe next year we'll get another donation to
From
do the rest of it.
that'd be
So, we're trying to use up what we're getting. And the back, you can see that there's a
Very nice,
deal.
yeah.
And the building has been painted.
Yeah.
That was with the
Mhm.
Legion. He has windows ordered, so there's a couple windows that are going to be going in.
Yeah.
So we're making headway, is what we're doing.
Going in that front door is a lot easier, somebody who's walking with a cane now than it was before, and I walk with a cane, so it's so much easier getting in and out of that place.
So
I like it.
we want to get the doors done first. And then we're talking about backdropping, we cemented in between the halls, or between the hall and the hardware store. We're talking about backing up a little bit so we can store the garbage cans there, and then put something, to keep people from walking over the gutters and stuff, that'll be down there. You know, just recess it back a little ways.
okay.
You know, that's why they leveled it off more towards the front, so the garbage cans don't blow around.
I think we're probably getting a little bit,
Okay,
we're
good.
explaining a lot more than we need to, but.
Okay.
But thank you, it's a good report, so, anything else?
Nope, we did the furnace, so I think that is it.
I went to a planning and zoning commission meeting for the county, which was very interesting. And, they're putting up a new gravel pit near Garrison someplace.
Okay,
And, that's about it.
okay, that really does make,
I know, but a
That's
new
nice.
gravel pit in the county, that's pretty good though.
yeah, okay,
That's one of my things, you know, you
Yep.
told me.
all right, no, that's cool, okay, I have nothing. Chelsea?
I guess just update, Erica's about done with those letters about the coolies, so we're gonna mail those out to all the coolie owners, see what they say, and see if we can burn anything.
They all might go up when we light this little pile back here.
You whole town might go up and you light that file. Is that it?
That's about it, yeah.
As far as the loader is concerned, it's, I was told that a tech should be up this week. But I was also told, Ascendum, the company we leased the loader from, is pulling out of Bismarck. But they still have an office in Orville. I don't know if that is a concern for anybody.
Thought they were supposed to be here last week.
Yeah, that's what they said, but no, it's this week, so.
When's the lease up?
Get me,
Don't
It's
know.
it's forever lease, or just ongoing lease, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had it for years.
who were you talking to? You got
I
that?
talked to like 3 different people, so I don't know.
Text me who you're, I'm going down there tomorrow.
Yeah,
I just
don't
need to
remember who it was.
stop in and, yeah.
What really concerns me
I was-
is,
I was told that they were closing last week, so I don't even know if they're
Well,
gonna be
I'll
open.
find out, cause
Yeah.
that's uncalled for, that kind of
right,
service.
but what really concerns me is it, if we need to have something come up for repair work, we gotta pay somebody from Fargo.
Okay, are we
Or
under
might
like
not, I guess.
contract with that for how long, or what, is it just month by month?
Month by month, we've had it forever.
We probably need to start looking at some other options.
We don't have money for that, don't worry about
Start
it.
looking
Well,
at,
we're paying for monthly rental now.
start looking at CAT.
Yeah, there's no way you can buy one for that month.
No, but I mean, you know, has anybody checked with John Deere to see what
Yeah.
kind of rental?
Well, and that's possible, they
they've
might
got,
have
you know,
something.
The RDO guy comes every year and asks about it, but,
You know,
Let's talk to
rather
them next time.
keep the business here or CAT or somewhere
Yeah.
that, not this
Right.
Chinese crap that we're
Cutting
buying
edges,
now.
cutting edges need to be clipped on that loader.
on the loader, there's still some room on them.
They're touching the corners of the bucket, and if you turn that back and the bucket is wore out, you gotta buy the bucket.
I mean, you know, yeah, that bucket is incredibly worn out, and I think we did buy the bucket, cause we've had that bucket ever since we've gotten
Oh, really?
That contract. They used to switch out the loaders.
Cutting edge?
Well, it's wore down to the frog, if you know.
They used to switch out the loaders, but they left the bucket here.
Well, which makes sense, cause it's all beat to crap.
It is very, yes, it is very beat down.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Anybody else?
I got a question for you, Larry.
Yes.
I'll bring it back up. Earlier you were talking about that assistance program for the water and sewer.
Right.
Did we do something this year? Or last year?
I mean, have somebody applied for it, you mean? Or what,
That program wasn't set up for a yearly deal.
to put more
Everybody-
funding in it, you mean?
No, for people to turn an application in.
Yeah?
We haven't done that. Everybody that's had an application, the timeline should have lapsed from previous work that's been done. That wasn't for an ongoing every year, somebody to turn.
Yeah, it is.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was never set up like that. That was only set up if there was a project that was done for people to go in and turn in for, if not, all you're doing is paying everybody's bill. If we keep turning it in every year, all you're doing is helping them with assistance every year. It was just for the project at hand that was done the prior year.
So-
It's not, it was never
So it was only
intended for.
good, so what you're saying, it was only good for 1 year, for 1 year's worth of payments?
Yep. Mhm.
We'll have to look into that, but,
No idea.
yeah,
I have no idea.
It wasn't made up for to be an ongoing thing for year after year after year.
we'll check into that,
It was
so,
only, unless it got worded different, and that, maybe it did, but when that was all brought up, it was to help people with low income, to help pay their
right,
assessment.
and you still gotta be low income to.
Yeah, but you have no new assessment. Everything is
I know,
passed.
but people have assessments for like 15 years. You know? And it's only good for that 1 year, I mean, like the ones we do this year, it's only good for the assessment for this year. And they can apply
What
again next
assessments
year.
did you have this year? You did no water or sewer this year?
No, it's from years past.
Do you have a year roughly on that?
I'll look that up.
No, okay, that's fine,
Dwayne was in on that whenever he was.
Yeah, we'll look that up though,
okay, that's fine.
yeah.
I mean, not that it's a bad deal, but I just,
Okay.
just wanted, there was,
I didn't understand it to be that way, so maybe it is, so.
that's, I guess that's how I interpreted when that law went into effect, when that
Okay.
deal went in.
Okay,
It was to help, because when we started doing them streets at that time,
right.
it was before you come to the board, it started prior to that.
Right, like the year prior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was to help people out with them assessments that we started.
Right,
So if there's no new assessments, no new street work that's been done, there should be really nobody eligible for that assessment program.
we'll check into that, we'll look it up tomorrow, and, because we had made a motion to try and get some more money for that from,
Tax fund.
sales and use funds, so if that's the case, then it kinda defeats the purpose of that, so we'll check into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a good thing to put money in there to have, because,
Right,
I mean, obviously, we gotta do more street repair and more sewer and water, so.
right,
I
exactly.
mean, it's still a good thing to have,
Okay, well, thanks.
My street's fine.
You just shut up.
All right, bills, everybody have a chance to review the bills?
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second?
Questions on the bills? Call it.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Yes.
Yes. Okay, next meeting, November 9th. Thank you, everyone, meeting adjourned.
Chelsea, I signed all